I didn't tell Sterling I was coming. I bought a ticket, boarded the flight, and left without warning. It wasn't panic. It was something sharper, older. A mother's intuition that no longer asked permission. At the airport, families hugged and laughed, baggage rolling at their feet. I watched detached. Everyone seemed to have a place where they belonged. I didn't. Not yet. For 3 days I had called Sterling. Ring after ring. No answer. Veda, my daughter-in-law, hadn't replied in a week. Usually even a brief text sufficed. We're okay. Polite and soft. Silence now. I felt the pull in my chest that mothers recognize before the mind can name it. Fear. True gnawing fear. In my bag I carried 2 jars of homemade elderberry preserves and a small plush bear, tokens of comfort. Veda's voice had sounded hollow when I last spoke to her. I needed to bring warmth, something gentle and unthreatening. Not knowledge. Not judgment. Just presence. The plane landed. Humid southern air pressed against me. Heavy and thick. I pulled my coat tighter, more for courage than warmth. I called Sterling again as the rideshare arrived. Straight to voicemail. 40 minutes later, the city blurred past glass towers and older brick streets. Their condo rose at the end of the street. Solid, historic, purchased by me 3 years ago to give them stability, comfort. A head start I never had. A foundation of brick and money to protect a marriage. The elevator groaned. On the 3rd floor I stopped. The door was ajar, not fully closed, as if someone left in haste. My stomach clenched. Pushed it open. The smell hit first. Sour alcohol, stale smoke, food left too long. Not Veda's kitchen scent of cinnamon and soap. Shoes lay scattered. One boot upright, the other against the wall. In the kitchen, a mountain of dirty dishes, dried pizza, empty bottles, and unopened bills littered the table. Pink and white envelopes ignored. Then I saw the medicine. A small box for blood pressure and heart strain. Veda's name. Unopened. Dust rested on it like a quiet accusation. My throat constricted. Who are you looking for? A neighbor, elderly and cautious, appeared. I'm Sterling's mother, I said, steady. Where are they? Oh, honey, she said, pity shading her words. I don't know where Sterling is. He's out. But your girl. The ambulance took her. My world tipped. When? 2, maybe 3 days ago. She didn't look awake. Thin as a shadow. I left the apartment, elevator doors shutting behind me. Hospital, hospital, hospital. City General smelled of bleach and fatigue. Nurses and doctors moved like ghosts. I asked for Veda Jefferson. The ICU held her in a medically induced coma. Ventilator in place. Machines beeped like measured heartbeats. Her skin was translucent. Cheekbones sharp. I had seen sickness before, but this was deliberate neglect's aftermath. I couldn't cry. I could only exhale through tight lungs. Outside, city lights flickered. Then a roar. A midnight blue SUV barreled past, music pounding, 2 women laughing. Sterling. Not the hospital. Not her. A text lit the phone. Hey ma. Can't talk. At the hospital with Veda. Pray for us. A lie neon bright. Tears burned away before they fell. The sun I raised was gone. A man remained, capable of smiling while harming, capable of typing lies as easily as breathing. I didn't call back. I didn't chase. I returned inside, calm. Facts aligned. Veda sick, Sterling absent, the condo neglected. Choices made in his absence, deliberate cruelty. I called Odora Hale, sharpest attorney I knew. Midnight, she answered. No hesitation. I need documents drafted tonight. Deed to Veda, power of attorney for me. Yes, she said slowly, understanding gravity. The SUV belonged to me. Permission revoked. 911 was dialed. Stolen vehicle reported. Dispatcher professional. I described the car, the driver, the reckless scene. My voice neutral, almost cold. Lie mingled with truth. Officers alerted. I walked to the ICU. Veda slept. Respirator steady. I spoke softly. Weather, autumn leaves, pie. Holding presence against death's intrusion. Sterling tried to call from jail. Anger, then pity, all absent care for her. Not once. Is she okay? Only himself. At the condo, daylight revealed the neglect. Sticky counters, ash stains, dust on medicine. In her bedroom I found a diary, pages documenting abuse. Money demanded, threats, jewelry sold. Every entry bruised in ink. Slow, systematic cruelty. Back at the hospital, Veda's fingers twitched. Eyelids fluttered. Recognition absent. Fear remained. "Don't let him in," she whispered. Her words hardened me. Turning off heat in winter, leaving her weak, alone. That was not accident. That was cruelty. I sat in the lobby, mind precise. Documents ready. Deed and power of attorney in place. SUV to be sold. Proceeds to her care. Every action calculated, deliberate. Sterling's world was closing in while hers survived. Outside he laughed. Inside I held law and love in my hands. My son, once childlike, now replaced by a predator in man's skin. I did not flinch. I did not hesitate. The night belonged to those who acted. I did. The next morning I arrived before sunrise. Hospitals smelled of antiseptic and worry, but Veda's room was quiet. Machines hummed rhythmically, breathing life into a body that barely clung to it. I perched on the chair beside her bed, not touching, not wanting to scare her, just being. Presence alone, solid and unwavering. The doctor, Hanley, came in briskly. "She's stable. But her kidneys, fluid retention, possible infection. She may need dialysis." I nodded. Not surprise. The neglect had its toll. "Is she in pain?" He shrugged. "Conscious? Not yet. But she'll feel it soon enough. Medications will manage. Recovery will be long, delicate." Delicate. I repeated it in my head. She deserved delicate. She deserved protection. Not chaos. Not fear. Not the empty threats Sterling wielded like weapons. I left a small backpack on her chair. Extra clothes, soft socks, a journal, and a stack of postcards with landscapes she loved. Mountains, beaches, forests. Places she could imagine visiting even while trapped in this hospital bed. Then the calls began. Lawyers, police, social workers. Documents signed. Evidence collected. Every ounce of energy I had focused on building walls around her. Sterling's name appeared in every file, every form. He had no rights here, not if I could prevent it. The police called back about the SUV. They had pulled him over. His license suspended. Vehicle impounded. He claimed he was just visiting friends. Lies, habitual and reckless. My pulse did not quicken. Every lie simply mapped onto the reality I already knew. By afternoon, Veda's eyes fluttered open. The first real movement, and my heart leapt despite every warning I'd given myself to stay calm. She looked weak, fragile but aware. Recognition glimmered. Fear shadowed it, but she looked at me. "Ma." Her voice, hoarse and trembling, barely crossed the bed rails. "Yes, love. I'm here." Tears threatened, but I swallowed them. Her recovery depended on my steadiness, not my indulgence. Over the next days I stayed. I watched feeds, logs, everything I could. Nurses learned my routines. The soft way I adjusted pillows, how I whispered reminders about hydration, meals, light movement. I insisted on controlled physical therapy, gentle, precise. Each exercise measured. Each step documented. Sterling called once. I let it go to voicemail. His messages became frantic, demanding, pleading. "Ma, let me see her. I'll change. I swear." His words trembled, but I heard the pattern. I knew manipulation. I didn't answer. I reached out to her workplace. Letters, benefits, payments, all suspended, frozen, handled. Nothing would disappear again. Every detail mattered. Every loose thread could unravel her progress. Veda's journal became her voice. She wrote of dreams, fears, tiny victories, breathing on her own, sitting up, remembering her favorite song. Pages stacked, comforting in their fragility. "Ma, I'm scared," one line read. "I know, baby. I'm here. Always." I wrote back in margins, small encouragements, assurances. One night, Sterling tried to visit. Hospital security intercepted him. Threats shouted, promises muttered. I stayed calm. Law and procedure were stronger than anger. He left furious. But his fury had no power here. Recovery progressed. Veda began eating small meals, regaining strength. Each day, small steps measured improvements. I recorded everything. Photos, videos, logs, timestamped. Evidence for the future if Sterling tried to manipulate or attack again. Weeks passed. He became desperate, calling neighbors, social media, even sending letters. Threats, emotional manipulation, but always I had already anticipated. The walls around Veda were solid, fortified by law, presence, vigilance. Her voice strengthened. She laughed softly, fragile but real. "Ma, I never thought I'd feel this safe again." "You are," I said, steady, gentle. "Safe, loved, protected. That will not change." One morning, social services called. A court date had been set. Guardianship review, protective orders. I gathered everything. Logs, photos, diary pages, statements. Sterling's absence, negligence, and abuse recorded meticulously. Veda slept peacefully while I organized the stacks, planning each motion, each argument, each proof. Nothing rushed. Everything deliberate. Precision, patience, vigilance, my weapons, my shield. By the time the court date arrived, I had anticipated every argument Sterling could make. His lawyers attempted to twist truth, spin claims, but facts were facts. Documented, witnessed, undeniable. His rights revoked, visitation controlled, guardianship secured. Veda's recovery continued. Physical therapy, counseling, nutritional planning, emotional support. Each day she grew stronger. Her laughter returned, fragile at first, then robust. She redecorated her space with soft pillows, pastel sheets, scented candles, a reclaiming of comfort. One evening she turned to me. "I can't thank you enough. You saved me." I smiled. "No thanks needed, baby. That's what mothers do. Protect. Fight. Be present." Outside, the world moved on. Sterling's attempts at manipulation faded. Evidence, law, and vigilance held him at bay. Inside, Veda thrived. Strength returned to her bones, clarity to her mind. Each day a victory. And through it all I realized the truth. Power lies not in threats or cruelty, but in careful action, measured steps, and unwavering love. Presence. Steadfast, patient, deliberate presence. The city breathed under a gray sky, the kind that made streets feel heavier and shadows linger longer. I walked Veda to the car, supporting her gently. The sun was hidden behind clouds, making the world feel muted, like it had paused to watch her recovery. She leaned on me, hesitant at first, afraid of a stumble, but each step she took showed more confidence than the last. We arrived at her old apartment, now stripped of the clutter that Sterling had left behind. The door opened to silence, the scent of dust, and faint traces of the life she had been forced to leave behind. I carried boxes of clothes, her journal, and a small bag of personal items she had missed most. As we set them down on the floor, she knelt, touching the carpet as if reconnecting with a forgotten memory. "I forgot it smelled like this," she whispered, voice trembling. "You'll rebuild it," I said softly, brushing her hair back from her face. "Every corner, every scent, everything will be yours again. We'll make it safe. Beautiful. Yours." We spent hours unpacking. Each item she held told a story. A photograph, a scarf, a book she had loved. Tears came and went, and I let her feel every one, knowing they were part of healing. Sterling's influence had left marks, and this was our reclamation. Evening arrived, painting the room with deep amber light. I made us tea, set it on the small kitchen table, and we sat silent, stretching comfortably between us. She stirred her tea slowly, watching the steam curl like a gentle wisp of hope. "Ma," she said finally, breaking the quiet. "I never imagined. How did you do it? All of it. Keeping me safe." I smiled faintly, though exhaustion tugged at my bones. "Careful steps, baby. Every move calculated. I anticipated him. Every lie, every attempt to manipulate, gone before it started. Love does that. Plans, it protects, it endures. And I never let him see us weaken." Her eyes softened. "You're incredible. I'm so scared he'll come back somehow." "You're stronger now," I said. "And I'm not leaving your side. Not now, not ever." Threats are powerless against preparation, against vigilance, against love. The next week was a blur of doctors, therapy, and court appointments. Veda's health stabilized, her strength returning steadily. But the emotional scars ran deeper, and each session of counseling unearthed memories she had tried to bury. I stayed in the room silently, letting her speak, nodding, affirming. Each word she voiced lightened a fraction of the burden she carried. One afternoon the phone rang. It was the detective assigned to Sterling's prior offenses. He had new leads, A series of manipulations, fraud, and threats that connected him to a wider network of dangerous behavior. I listened, jotting notes, ensuring that every detail would reinforce our protective measures. Sterling's reach had limits, and now the law was closing in. At night, we sat by the window, the city lights flickering like distant stars. She leaned against me, drawing comfort in the quiet. "Ma, I feel safer now. Even in the dark, I feel safe." "You are," I whispered. "And no darkness can touch you while I'm here." Then came the challenge no one had predicted. Sterling's lawyer tried one last maneuver. Court documents arrived, claiming emergency visitation rights, asserting that he was a changed man. I read them carefully, dissecting each claim, anticipating loopholes, preparing counterarguments. Every word, every sentence, meticulously mapped against reality. His attempts were transparent, desperate, weak. The day of the hearing arrived. Veda sat beside me, hand in mine, gripping tightly as if drawing strength from my presence. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and tense authority. Sterling appeared, gaunt, jittery, his suit ill-fitting. A man unaccustomed to the reality of consequences. His lawyer spoke first, weaving a narrative of redemption, of his supposed remorse. I listened, calm, watching, documenting every misstep, every exaggeration, every contradiction. When our turn came, I presented the evidence with precision: logs of abuse, police reports, testimonies from friends and neighbors, records of hospitalization, documented threats, psychological evaluations. Every detail fortified our case. Every fact was a wall he could not breach. Veda's testimony, carefully prepared and supported, was pivotal. She spoke with clarity, recounting incidents, her fear, her growth since escaping Sterling's influence. Her voice wavered at times, but her resolve shone. I held her hand firmly, squeezing reassurance through the touch. The judge listened, attentive, and finally justice found its voice. Protective orders were reinforced, visitation denied, guardianship reaffirmed. Sterling's claims dissolved under the weight of truth. Walking out of the courthouse, sunlight spilling across the steps, Veda's smile was unguarded, unburdened. I hugged her, letting her lean completely into me. "We did it," she whispered. "No, baby. You did it," I corrected. "I just helped hold the walls steady while you rebuilt them." Weeks turned into months. Recovery became routine, structured, deliberate. Veda reconnected with old friends, resumed hobbies, found comfort in small joys. Cooking, journaling, even taking short walks through the park near her apartment. I remained close, a constant presence, but I gave her space to reclaim independence. Each day was measured, each step intentional. One morning, she handed me a folded letter. Inside, she had written, "Ma, I never imagined I could feel whole again. You held me when I couldn't hold myself. You are my anchor. Thank you for never letting go." I held the paper, tears hot but controlled. Words had power, but action had proven stronger. I smiled at her, brushing hair from her face. "You are whole, baby. And you always will be." Evenings became our reflection time. Sitting by the window, we watched the city shift from day to night, lights flickering in rhythms that mirrored our own steady recovery. Conversation flowed easily now, laughter, plans for the future, dreams. Sterling's shadow faded gradually, powerless against the combined weight of law, preparation, and unwavering love. Months later, Veda returned to work part-time, gaining confidence in her abilities and presence. Each accomplishment was a brick in the foundation of a life rebuilt, a life of agency and dignity. I watched silently, pride swelling quietly within me, knowing that she was not just surviving, she was thriving. Then, one quiet afternoon, she turned to me with a soft smile. "Ma, I think I can live fully now. No fear, no hesitation. Just me." "Yes, baby," I said, voice firm, gentle. "Just you. Strong, free, unshakable. Always you." And in that moment, watching her reclaim her world, I understood fully. Protection is not merely shielding from harm. It is teaching resilience, fostering courage, and building a life where fear no longer dictates action. Together, we had crossed the threshold from survival to freedom, from fear to empowerment. Outside, the city continued its endless rhythm, indifferent, vast, and unknowable. But inside, a small space of warmth, laughter, and safety had been carved. And there, in that reclaimed corner of the world, Veda thrived, and I remained her steadfast guardian. Always present, always vigilant, always her mother. The morning sunlight fell across Veda's apartment, golden and warm, spilling through the curtains as if the world itself was celebrating her survival. The air smelled faintly of fresh coffee and clean linens, a stark contrast to the stale tension of the months before. I watched her from the doorway as she prepared breakfast, moving with a fluidity that suggested a regained confidence, a life reconstructed from fragments. "Ma, could you pass me the sugar?" she called, voice light, almost playful. The ease in her tone was a melody I hadn't heard in what felt like forever. I moved closer, handing her the sugar bowl, and smiled. "You're smiling more these days." She turned, eyes bright, a soft blush on her cheeks. "Because I can. I can actually smile without fear now. And not just because of what you did, though that's everything, but because I finally see myself again. And I like who I am." I nodded, emotion constricting my throat. Words were insufficient, but her smile said enough. We had both endured storms, and now the sun felt earned. After breakfast, we sat by the window with cups of tea, watching the city awaken. Traffic hummed below, pedestrians moved with purpose, unaware of the battles fought and won in apartments above. Veda leaned her head against my shoulder. "Ma, I keep thinking about the future. Not the one I feared, but the one I want. The one I get to choose." "That's the most powerful place to stand," I said. "Choosing your life on your own terms. No fear. No manipulation. Just you free." We spoke for hours that morning about plans, possibilities, and even the small absurdities that made life bright. Sunsets, books she wanted to read, hobbies she'd abandoned. Every conversation was a thread in the tapestry of normalcy we were weaving together. It was delicate, yet firm, resilient against any lingering shadows. Weeks passed, and the protective measures strengthened. Veda's legal team confirmed Sterling's permanent ban, and surveillance, both physical and digital, ensured he could not approach her. Each step of the process reaffirmed that we had won, not through confrontation alone, but through meticulous preparation, support, and endurance. Then came the first night she slept without nightmares. The relief on her face when she woke, stretching in the soft morning light, was profound. I sat beside her bed, hand on hers, knowing this was more than sleep. It was a reclamation of peace. "Ma," she whispered, voice sleepy but content. "I dreamed about the park. Not the park near my old apartment, the one I imagined in my mind. It was warm, calm, and safe. And I was there, really there, without fear. I woke up and I felt it linger." "That's real," I said softly. "Not just the dream. The safety, the warmth, it's all real now. You earned it." Her journey continued in quiet, steady strides. Therapy sessions turned from confronting trauma to building dreams, aspirations, and confidence. She explored creative projects, painting, writing, even small volunteer work in the community. Each act of self-expression rebuilt the parts of her Sterling had tried to destroy. One evening, a letter arrived in the mail, official, confirming a scholarship she had applied for months prior, an opportunity she had once doubted she deserved. She held it trembling, reading aloud the words that promised a new chapter. "Muts, it's real. They really want me. They believe in me." I pulled her into a tight hug, holding her as she shivered with joy. "And they should. You're brilliant, resilient, and stronger than anyone I've ever met. And this is just the beginning. Just the first of many doors opening." The next months were a flurry of new experiences. Veda enrolled, started her studies, met people who respected her, inspired her, and made her laugh without hesitation. Each social connection, each academic success, each moment of independence was a triumph. And each time she came home, we shared stories, plans, and small victories. Our ritual, our anchor in the world we had rebuilt together. I noticed a transformation not just in her, but in the way she carried herself. Her posture was straight, her gaze unflinching, and her voice carried certainty. The once cautious steps were now strides of confidence, deliberate and bold. It was breathtaking to witness. Then one evening she brought home a small, fragile kitten from a shelter, a tiny creature with wide, fearful eyes. "Ma, I think she's like me. She needs love, patience, and a safe space. And I can give her that now." We named her Lumi. Watching Veda care for Lumi, feeding her, comforting her when she trembled, playing gently with her, was a mirror of the care Veda herself had received. It was symbolic, poignant, A life nurtured and now nurturing in return. Winter arrived quietly, with soft snow settling over the city like a protective blanket. We sat by the window, Lumi curled between us, sipping cocoa. Veda's journal lay open, filled with reflections, poetry, and plans. She read aloud a passage she had written. I was lost, broken, and afraid. But I found strength I never knew existed. I learned to stand, to breathe, to dream. And now I am not only alive, I am thriving. Fear no longer dictates me. I am free. Her voice faltered at first, then steadied with pride. Ma, that's me. I really mean it. Yes, baby, I said, brushing her hair back. That's you. Always has been, always will be. And no one can take that away. The following months were a cascade of firsts. First solo trip to the bookstore, first presentation at school, first day she walked home alone with the confidence of someone unafraid. Each achievement was a testament to the resilience of a spirit that had faced darkness and emerged radiant. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky with oranges and purples, Veda turned to me. Ma, I want to thank you again. I feel like I owe you everything. You owe me nothing, I said firmly. I gave you my strength because it was always yours to claim. You are the hero of your story. I just helped you see it. Then came the final unspoken test of peace. Sterling, despite legal constraints, tried to reappear in her digital life, creating fake accounts, sending messages meant to intimidate. Veda noticed, told me immediately, and we acted. Every trace he left was analyzed, reported, and neutralized. By the time he realized he had no influence, no access, and no power, it was already too late. He had become a ghost of a life he could never reclaim. Veda's reaction was not fear, but quiet confidence. Ma, she said, I see him for what he is. No control, no power. Nothing. Yes, I said, nodding. And now we move forward. Always forward. Years passed and Veda flourished. She graduated with honors, started her career, and maintained friendships that were genuine and supportive. I watched her build a life filled with laughter, accomplishment, and independence. The girl who had trembled under shadows now walked in the sun, unafraid, unstoppable. And through it all I remained her mother, guardian, confidant, anchor, and witness to her triumph. Every moment of fear she had endured became a stepping stone for courage. Every tear shed a lesson in resilience. Our bond, tested by adversity, had become unbreakable, a testament to the power of love, protection, and unwavering faith. One quiet night we sat by the fire, Lumi purring on Veda's lap. She leaned against me, whispering softly, Ma, I think we've really done it. I think I'm free. Think I can finally live without looking over my shoulder. I held her close, pressing my forehead to hers. Yes, baby. You are free. And now you can soar. Outside, the world continued, unaware of the battles won within these walls. But inside, a story of survival, strength, and love had reached its triumphant conclusion. Veda had reclaimed her life, not through fear or escape, but through courage, guidance, and the unwavering strength of a mother's love. And as the fire crackled, shadows flickering across the walls, I knew this truth. Freedom is not merely absence of fear, but the presence of strength. And in Veda, that strength shone brighter than any darkness ever could.